Hey you guys, it's your girl Abriah, Serenity, and I'm back at you with another prophetic dream, another prophetic word. This prophetic word specifically is about prodigals and counterfeits. Once again, like I said, the Lord has really had these counterfeits and these prodigals in my dreams and in my words like crazy these last couple of weeks. In this dream, I pulled up on a prodigal. This was a prodigal that I knew, somebody that I used to be friends with a long time ago, somebody that I was really close to and dear to my heart, and they ended up getting into a relationship and it created a lot of distance between him and I. And something in my spirit told me to just pull up on him. And somehow I was able to find out where he worked, and I was able to just like pop up. I was able to pop up. I was able to get into the factory and just be in there as if I worked there. And so when I got into the parking lot, I saw them, but I didn't immediately like announce myself, but they saw me without me having to even get out of the car. Slammed on their brakes and they were like, there's no way that you're here. There's no way. Like they were so excited, and the light came back into their eyes. The light came back into their face, because before then they were just looking very dull, very bored. Like, oh, I guess I'm getting ready to go home, just another regular day. And they were happy to see me. They hugged me. They were ecstatic. And I went into the factory with them, and I kind of was just like taking care of business, almost as if I was working there with them too. And as we were walking around this factory, there was this little, lady following us around and listening to everything that we were talking about. And I would tell the prodigal to shh, because she was listening to us. They were watching us. And so we had to be very careful about when we talked to each other, what we were talking about, and even the little things. We would basically have to talk in code. And the lady would just be monitoring us the entire time. Even though the prodigal did not notice that he was being monitored, I noticed that he was being monitored. Surprisingly, I don't know how he wasn't able to see her, but for some reason I was the only one who was able to see her. Walking throughout the factory, the prodigal was talking to me about us, like our childhood. So this may be somebody that you are really familiar with, somebody that you grew up with. This could be somebody that you've known for a very, very long time, somebody that you were really close to, maybe a classmate or a cousin, a friend, or it could be like a romantic interest that you grew up with that the Lord told you is your spouse. But it doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. And so we were talking about us and all the good times and just how much has changed. And it was nothing inappropriate, nothing bad, but the monitoring spirit took all that information and everything that they heard and they brought it to the counterfeit. This prodigal had no idea that this monitoring spirit was relaying information to the counterfeit, but they ended up finding out later when they got home. So they ended up leaving the factory, and they were just so happy, and they were happy to be able to be speaking to me again. They were able to be around me again, and they just felt like they got a little piece of their life back, and it just brought them a lot of joy. So imagine their disappointment in the dream when they got home, and the first thing they see is the counterfeit at their neck saying, I know you're talking to somebody at your job. They called me and told me that you're talking to somebody. I know you're talking to somebody. And this counterfeit is wearing all black, like looking really evil, looking very demonic, and he's just like really frustrated because he's like, how does she know that I saw this person today? How does she know that I talked to this person today? And how does she know the details of our conversation? We didn't talk on the phone. We weren't texting. How does she know this? And she's like, I got somebody at that job, and they've been telling me stuff that you've been doing. They've been telling me stuff that you've been saying. And he was just so extremely frustrated. Like, he felt kind of bad because he's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have been talking to this person, right? But he's also just like more frustrated because he's like, you're going to these extreme lengths to make sure that I'm not doing or saying or speaking to certain people, and it's starting to get on my nerves, right? And that was the end of the dream. Up factory and what that could mean. And when I looked it up, I saw business, good or evil. So I know that I came to that factory to see the prodigal. So I know I was there and being about my Father's business, because anytime I travel anywhere or I'm doing any type of work, it's usually for the Lord. So I knew I was in there about my Father's business. So I was doing God's work, and it allowed me to reconnect with this prodigal. So there may be some of you who are getting ready to reconnect with the prodigal, somebody that you lost contact with, maybe somebody you haven't seen, or maybe you have a prodigal spouse that you lost communication with and you guys can't talk because of a relationship that they're in, or maybe they moved too far. Whatever the case may be, the Lord is indicating that some of you are getting ready to have an encounter with them, like a face-to-face encounter or a FaceTime encounter. Something where you guys get to like reunite, and it's going to be because of something the Lord wants. It's going to have something to do with God's business. It's not going to be like just a personal thing. It's going to have something to do with the Holy Spirit and something the Holy Spirit got going on. This is merely a confirmation to some of you. The Lord has spoken to this. The Lord has already said something to you about this, about getting ready to see this person face to face, or expecting a phone call or a FaceTime phone call. If the Lord has not said anything to you about this, this is not for you to receive. That is only merely supposed to be a confirmation. this also lets you know that whoever this prodigal is doing some work too, because they're about their father's business as well. And that's the reason why the Lord is permitting this encounter. This is why he's permitting you guys to be connected or see each other face to face or FaceTime once again, because this person has been doing the work on the inside and in their private time. And so you guys can reconnect. And when you reconnect with them, you're going to see the difference, but you're also going to see how bad this person has been struggling since you guys have been disconnected. So be in prayer about this person. I also uploaded a prophetic word talking about how a lot of these prodigals are struggling with depression. They're struggling with like mental health battles. And so you really need to be interceding on their behalf. Lord led me to Psalms 127, verse 1, where it says, a song of degrees for Solomon. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. So the Lord is saying that a lot of these prodigals are doing the work. They're doing the work, but a lot of them are laboring in vain because there's still some things they have not done. There's still some things the Lord is like, okay, you're doing all this work, yes, but let me send this person as a reminder to let you know what you still have not done. You are going to encounter this person, and even though they've done a lot of work, they've done a lot of things the Lord has asked them to do, there is still some things the Lord is sending you as a reminder of what they have not done. You're going to bring up something that's going to remind them like, oh yeah, I still have not done that. And the Lord is saying to a lot of these prodigals, like, yes, you have made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of things that you have not done. So even though you have done some of these things, all the work that you're doing is in vain, because until this one thing is done, you're going to be working in vain. And some of them are trying to build a foundation. Like I told you guys before in another prophetic word, that a lot of these counterfeit relationships, there's a lot of serious things on the table. So like buying a home, starting families, these prodigals are trying to build a foundation, but the foundation is faulty. Okay, the foundation is faulty, and they're not able to have a solid foundation with the way that they're doing it. And the Lord is saying they're laboring in vain. That's why they're so miserable. That's why they're so drained. And the Lord is sending you as a refresher. The Lord is like, I'm going to send somebody familiar to you. I'm going to send one of my people to you to refresh your memory, not only to encourage you, to give you some type of hope, to give you a slice of the pie again, but to remind you of the things that I told you to do before, and that you cannot skip steps. Okay, I also uploaded a prophetic word like last year called Steps Cannot Be Skipped. They are trying to skip a couple steps. They are trying to avoid certain things. And so in the dream, the prodigal was really, really happy to see this person the Lord sent to them. And they were just really ecstatic and happy to be able to have connection with them again. They were happy to be able to be talking to them again, even though something in them was like not supposed to be communicating with them. Like they're like, I'm not supposed to be talking to this person, but it just feels so good to be able to talk to this person again. And the Lord is also saying, like, you know, you could talk to them all the time if you just did what I told you to do. Right? If you just did what I told you to do, you wouldn't have to be sneaking and talking to this person. And the Lord is telling them, like, I called you to walk in truth. If you walk in truth and you follow me, you wouldn't have to sneak to do this. And every time you try to sneak and do this, you're going to get caught. Also, don't want to leave out the fact that a lot of these prodigals are isolated because of things that they've done. This is a part of their judgment. This is a lot of seeds that they have sown in the field on their own. And so now they look around them and they see that they're isolated. They see that they have nobody. They see that they can't even contact the people that they want to contact because of things that they have done. They have invoked jealousy in their partners. These counterfeits are acting crazy or irrational, if you will, because of things that these prodigals have done when they were operating in sin, when they were being carnal in their minds. And so they created this mess of a life. They created this mess of a situation. And so the Lord took a lot of his people away. Okay, the Lord took a lot of his people away from these prodigals because the Lord did not want his people to be involved in this. The Lord did not want his people to be getting affected by this. The Lord did not want his people to be in that drama or any of that demonic activity that they had going on. So the Lord has removed a lot of his people from the prodigals because the Lord did not want his people to be involved in that. It got a little messy, and so the Lord had to isolate them while they were trying to figure their things out. But now the Lord is getting ready to allow them to see some people, but do know that a lot of them are not isolated because of the counterfeit alone, but because of their own actions. Tell people all the time, like, don't judge these counterfeits, because everyone who has been in a relationship that is not of God has been a counterfeit at some point in their life. You wasn't supposed to be dealing with, you were a counterfeit to somebody at some point, or you were dealing with a counterfeit at some point, and you know how it feels, so you know what type of compassion that you need to have with these counterfeits. Regardless of how they're acting, regardless of how it's manifesting, you know how things can get that way. So you need to be praying. That's why I always say pray for the counterfeits too. because this is a part of their testimony too. But a lot of these prodigals are isolated because of things that they've done, messes that they have created. Maybe they have, like I said, gone behind the counterfeits back and betrayed them, or done things that have caused these counterfeits to feel like they have to have this extreme control over these prodigals, because they need to monitor everything that they do, everybody that they're talking to, where they go, how long they're there, looking at call logs and phone bills and things like that, because of things that they've done in the past. And it's the only thing that makes them feel like they have some sense of control. Passion with them as well. Like, don't demonize these counterfeits. I see a lot of people in the comments who try to try to make these counterfeits just these such evil people that are beyond redemption. Okay, a lot of these counterfeits are going to come into Christ too, and a lot of this situation is going to be a part of their testimony as well. So do not, look at these counterfeits and just say, oh, they're such as bad people. Everybody has a testimony. Everybody has a story. This just so happens to be a part of theirs. But do know that a lot of these prodigals are isolated because this is a part of their judgment. A lot of this is their own doing because of things they've done, messes that they have created themselves, not because the counterfeit is forcing them to be away. The counterfeit is simply just fed up with what they're doing, and they're like, okay, now you got to do it my way or get out. You got to do it my way or don't deal with me. You got to do it my way if you want to be happy, because if you don't do it my way, I'm going to make your life a living hell. That's what they're dealing with right now. I'm saying today to a lot of these prodigals, if you're a prodigal watching this, you cannot skip steps. You cannot try to sneak and have what the Lord wants to give you, or have the people in your life the Lord wants you to have in your life, and still be trying to work for the devil, still trying to be connected to the devil, still trying to serve the devil, and be double-minded. The Lord is saying, if you want access to the blessing, you have to give up the sin. If you want blessings, you have to give up what does not serve you. You have to give up your idols. You have to let your idols fall. The rich man was very sorrowful because he had a lot of rich possessions that he did not want to get rid of. And the Lord is just saying, give up everything and come follow me. You're struggling to have connections to people that you need to be connected to because you won't do what I told you to do. But the Lord is getting ready to send some of these prodigals a reminder. He's getting ready to allow them to be in the presence of people that he had to separate them from because of their sin. And they've done some work, so the Lord is like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little reward. I'm gonna give you a little reinforcement and tell you that you've been doing a good job by allowing you to see this person again. But I'm also going to remind you that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. The monitoring spirit represents a person. This could be a person that actually does work with them, that is monitoring them, that is gossiping and telling their counterfeit that they are doing things that would make the counterfeit mad. They are spying on this person. This could also represent the counterfeit spying on this person's phone. Like any type of communication, they could be looking through the phone, looking through call logs, looking at their break, having access, cameras, whatever, having access to something that allows them to spy on their prodigal. Okay, on the prodigal. They have something that's allowing them to spy on the prodigal. That's an invasion of privacy that is just confusing the prodigal, because they're like, how is it possible that you know about these conversations that I had with this person? You weren't there. Nobody else was there. We weren't talking on the phone. We weren't texting. How do you know this? How is it that you know this? This could also represent that a lot of these counterfeits are witches, right? Because we talked about this before. A lot of them are witches, and they're not witches as in casting spells, but they are using witchcraft to monitor and gain information about the prodigal. So any of the prodigal's love interests, any of the prodigal's plans, anybody the prodigal is talking to, or something they have feelings towards, or maybe how they're feeling towards the counterfeit, they are using witchcraft to monitor these prodigals. Okay, and a lot of these counterfeits are spiraling, like I've been talking about for the past week. A lot of them are spiraling out of control, and they are in these phones, y'all. They are really in these phones. They are checking their phone every day. They checking call logs, they checking bills, they checking all types of stuff, and making sure that nothing gets past them, because they're like, no, I need to make sure I know every single little thing you're doing, and how long you're talking to somebody, who you're talking to, when you're talking to them. I need to know. A lot of these counterfeits are making demands for serious things, and they are spiraling and stalking these prodigals. And like I said in the previous video, a lot of this crazy behavior is going to cause a lot of these prodigals to drift further away from the counterfeit, because it's going to become too much for them. The Lord also led me to John chapter 8 verse 31 through 32, where it says, then Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then ye are my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And the Lord wants a lot of these prodigals to know that the truth will set you free. If you just walk in truth, if you just be honest with yourself, if you just be honest with the counterfeit, you can free yourself from this situation that you are in. And yes, it may cost you some things. Yes, you may have to die to yourself. Yes, you may have to sacrifice your lifestyle. Yes, you may have to lose some things. Maybe some of these people are going to lose almost everything and they're going to have to start over from scratch. But like I said in my last video, anyone who walks away from mother, brother, wife, children, land, property, whatever, for Jesus' sake, will be blessed 100-fold. And that's the gospel. That is a promise made by Jesus himself that is put in the word of God. So they have no reason to fear. But the Lord is letting them know, like, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And a lot of these prodigals are still trying to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And they just get a taste of the blessing. They just get a taste of having connections with people they need to be connected to. And instead of them saying, this is worth everything, being connected to Jesus and all things concerning him is worth everything, they get a taste of it, and then they just go back to where they were before. And they try to just make that experience last them as long as they can until they start feeling depleted and they start feeling depressed and stuff again. But you guys, a lot of these prodigals are suffering, but he is about to allow some face-to-face encounters, some in-person encounters, or some FaceTime calls to some of you, whether this be a family member, a friend, whoever. Maybe it may be somebody that you forgot about, maybe somebody you haven't been in contact with for a long time, not necessarily a spouse, that needs your prayers, that needs your encouragement, that needs you to encourage them, or the Lord may need you to relay a message to them. And like I just said, a lot of these counterfeits are monitoring these prodigals' phones like crazy. They are checking text messages, call logs. But like I said before, do not judge these counterfeits, because if you've been in this situation before, then you know how that feels. And I've also said in previous videos that a lot of these prodigals are not even fully committed to these counterfeits. A lot of these prodigals are not even really doing right by these counterfeits either, because they got themselves into a mess, or they weren't ready. They still were very carnal and they weren't doing right. And so they have burned the counterfeits, right? Betrayed them, or done some things that made these counterfeits even more paranoid, even more insecure, even more unsettled whenever they leave the house or whenever they leave this person's presence. Like ancient attachment styles, are stalking this person. And they're acting really crazy. So a lot of these counterfeits are going crazy trying to monitor these prodigals, and these prodigals are getting really frustrated because any slice of heaven that they get, it just seems like the counterfeit kind of just crumbles it, right? They were really happy to be able to have seen this person that they knew, gave them some sense of hope and encouragement, just for it to be ruined and to be condemned by the counterfeit once they got home. And this counterfeit was really at their neck, you guys, and the prodigal was extremely confused. He was like, how do you know this information? They still haven't put the pieces together, like, okay, this person is dabbling in some witchcraft, or this person is manipulating me, or this person has people spying on me, or this person has done something, because there's no way they can know this information. Still have not seen the bad characteristics in this person, and anything bad in them they take accountability for, because they're like, hey, I haven't been the best, I haven't been doing my best, so anything that they're doing is probably my fault. But there are some things about these counterfeits that have absolutely nothing to do with these prodigals. Some of these women and men are just crazy. Okay, some of them are just crazy, and a lot of these prodigals are beginning to get a little suspicious, and they're beginning to pick up on it, but they still just don't know how serious this gets. So you guys need to be in prayer for these prodigals, be in prayer for these people who are in these toxic relationships, situations with people who have like these ancient attachment styles that's going to make it difficult for them to leave. These people who are in extreme isolation because of these relationships, like they're not able to see friends, family, loved ones, anyone, just to keep the counterfeit, you know, satisfied, to make them believe that they are really wholly committed to them. Like I said in the last video, a lot of these counterfeits are making demands, and they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that, I want this, I want that, to solidify their position and rank in this person's life. They want to be worshiped, they want to be an idol. Lord also said in Psalms 127 verse 1, it says, unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So this counterfeit is staying awake in vain. This person is monitoring this prodigal in vain. This counterfeit is really heavily watching this person and trying to guard it, to make sure that nothing happens to it. But the Lord is saying, because I'm not in it, all your work, all your stalking, everything that you're doing is in vain. Everything that you're doing is in vain. If you are a counterfeit watching this and you're stalking somebody and you're guarding them and you just become really crazy and obsessed with knowing every single little thing happening in their life when they're with you and when they're not with you, going through their phones every day, checking phone bills and stuff like that, the Lord is saying you are doing this in vain. Everything that you're doing is in vain. And the Lord wants you to know that. He wants you to know that today, because the Lord is not in it. The Lord said, if I'm not keeping the city, if I'm not keeping this, everything that you do to guard it, everything that you do to watch it, all the nights that you stay awake to labor in vain and watch over it to make sure that it's safe is in vain. None of it matters. He's not guarding it and he's not in it. And some of them, like I said, have deceived themselves into believing that the Lord is in it, but he is indeed not. Guys, be praying for these prodigals, be praying for these counterfeits as well, because like in other videos I have said that they're suffering from like abandonment issues, spirits of rejection, mommy daddy issues, and toxicity and toxic cycles is all they know. That's all they're familiar with. So that's all they're going to do, is be toxic and express themselves in toxic ways and do things in toxic ways, because that's all they know how to do. But you guys are getting ready to have a face-to-face meeting with them. You guys are getting ready to get a phone call. You guys are getting ready to get a FaceTime phone call if the Lord has spoken to you about this. So be on the lookout for that and be in prayer and bind all of these monitoring spirits that are watching them and monitoring their phone calls. Also, the Lord wants you guys to know, if you haven't been getting phone calls back, if it seems like you're blocked, if it seems like this person has unfollowed you, if it seems like this person is just like acting really weird, moving really weird, do know that it's because of the counterfeit. Okay, it's not something that they wanted to do. It's not something that the Lord wanted them to do, but it's something that they had to do to appease the counterfeit. So a lot of you feel like, dang, they ain't talking to me no more. Dang, they did this, they did that, or I haven't heard from them, or they just kind of said, forget about me. It is because of the counterfeit. Okay, it is because of the counterfeit. The counterfeit is cracking down. The counterfeit is like, you can't talk to this person no more. You can't talk to them. You can't see them. You can't see them. You can't go over there. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I want you to do this, that, and the third for me to appease me. Okay, that's where they're at right now. So they have to make a lot of cuts. They have to disconnect themselves from a lot of people in order to stay with this counterfeit. But some of them have a reason to act a little irrational because of things that the prodigals have done in the past. Like I said in the last video, a lot of these prodigals have an anointing on them, but a lot of them are still carnal. So every time the counterfeit thinks they got something good, they're reminded that they don't when the prodigals start acting carnal. When they start operating in sin again, they realize like the anointing, the light that they're seeing in them is there, but they don't have access to the version of them that has yet to be manifested. And be praying for these prodigals, be expecting a phone call. This is not going to be a permanent connection. It may just be like a one-time encounter. The Lord may just have you do this one assignment. The Lord may just have you talk to this person one time, encourage them, pray for them, and send them on their way. So don't be expecting for them to just be back in your life again, or expecting them to talk to you all the time again, or even to come back into your life permanently, because like I said, a lot of these prodigals have free will and they get to choose which direction they go in. You know, they get to choose. So if they talk to you this one time, you guys meet up, do know that this meetup, this encounter that they're going to have with you is going to mean everything to them. And if you do not talk to them again after this encounter, do not take it personal. Do not be crying, heartbroken, and feeling rejected and allowing the enemy to get into your ear. They do have to cut ties and they cannot talk to you, but it's not because of anything that you did. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because they don't want to be around you. It's because they have obligations to the counterfeit. They have obligations to the people that they are around right now, and being connected to you is a liability and they cannot have that. Understand that's not something the Lord told them to do. They're not manipulating you. They're not playing you. They are just in a situation where they cannot have you and that. Okay, they cannot be connected to you and be connected to that. They have to be connected to one or the other. And right now they are choosing to be connected to what is familiar to them. So be in prayer for them. Do not take it personal. Do not be out here crying saying, why? It's not about you. It's bigger than you. This is also part of everyone's testimony. Your only job is to do whatever the Lord has called you to do. So if the Lord is saying, go talk to them. The Lord is saying, answer the call when they call. If the Lord is saying, pray for them. If the Lord is saying, intercede or give them the word that the Lord told you to give them, then you do that and then you go about your business. You keep doing what the Lord told you to do. Don't worry about them. You could shed a tear for them and give it up to God. Prayer points is to bind all monitoring spirits that could be monitoring any type of conversation that they have with you, who could be eavesdropping on the visit or the encounter that you guys are going to have that may get back to the counterfeit. You need to be praying for the counterfeit and their abandonment issues, their rejection issues, their mommy daddy issues, their toxicity, and be praying for their healing and their deliverance and their salvation. You need to be praying for your prodigal that they stop being double-minded. Pray that they follow God wholeheartedly and that they give up whatever it is the Lord is telling them to give up, so that they can walk in truth and allow the truth to set them free, and come against that spirit of fear and anxiety and depression, and encourage them. and encourage them in prayer. Encourage them when you see them in person. Let them know, hey, the Lord has been speaking to me concerning you, and he has told me you are having a hard time, and the Lord wants you to know that he sees you and that he still loves you, but there are still some things that he needs you to do. And even though it may be difficult for you to do, he's letting you know that he loves you, and that what he's asking you to do is in your best interest, and the truth shall set you free. He wants you to be free. He does not want you to live in bondage. He does not want you to walk in lies. He doesn't want you to be double-minded. The Lord wants you to be free. So do understand that this encounter is not just for the sake of you seeing them or being able to see them or thinking that you guys are going to be reconnected and rekindle some type of friendship or relationship, or that this is the time, if this is a spouse, that this is the time for you guys to be getting married. No, this is just an encounter that the Lord is using to encourage them because they are really in need of it right now. My name is Abriah Serenity. I love you all with the love of the Lord. If you feel led to by the Holy Spirit, go ahead and turn on those notifications and click that like and subscribe button if you feel led to, and I will see you guys next time.